Pride of Higara. This is Captain Soban of the fleet, Farron Shah. Looks like you could use a hand. Attention all Sobani, pick your targets and engage.
Hello everyone. Hello. This is Captain Soban. Welcome aboard the Starship Enormoprize for another episode of Homeworld Cataclysm Hardcore Ship Showcase Series? Nope, that's not the name of this. Homeworld Cataclysm Hardcore Testing Series. And today we're going to be taking a close look at the Kushan, or not the Kushan. God, what is wrong with my brain today? I keep getting everything confused. We're taking a look at the Som-Taaw. And we're going to be taking a look at everything that I've adjusted, all the economy, the how the ship actually operates, the amount of SU units that your fleet's going to be able to use, all the SU cost of all the ships you're going to be building, all that stuff. I've adjusted everything, and I think I got it to where I want it to be without actually doing a whole lot of testing. But everything should be set up for whenever we do the tests against the AI and stuff to make sure that everything is balanced and whatnot. So, first thing, I need to turn voices on because I forgot those are still muted from when I did the last episode. Because there was a lot of complaints, not for the video itself, but in the actual game, where they're like, you're fighting your own unit. Group 2 is being fought by Group 1. And it's like, just shut up and let me commentate. But anyways,
Bridge.
So we have our command ship here. And as you can see here, I've adjusted the amount of health that the command ship has. It has 340,000 health. Now, that is a lot more than vanilla, which I believe was 130,000, but isn't near as much as the mothership in my previous mod, which had 1.2 million. Primarily reason for this, even though the command ship is a massive ship, if you look at it without any modules built on, it is a hangar bay with a resource drop-off point, a bridge, a defense system, a long spine, and a armored engine module. That's it. There isn't much to the Kunlan without all of its modules built on. So because of that, I drastically reduced the amount of health that the ship would have for our mothership class, but I've adjusted the amount of health that all the modules would have to make up for it, so it still has 1.2 million if everything is actually constructed. So the exact amounts are the hangar module I've adjusted to 250,000 health, which I think previously it only had 50,000. It has a massive amount of health compared to its vanilla counterpart because it's a heavily armored hangar. And in the vanilla, I always felt like it just didn't have enough health and just died too quickly compared to the rest of the modules. Because it usually ends up being focused because of the fact it provides additional support for the the Som-Taaw fleet, so they can have a larger amount of stuff that they can have, the amount of ships and whatnot they can build, and it's heavily armored. So to me, it makes a lot of sense. And then research modules I've made where they have 40k health each because they're just kind of little objects with tons and tons of equipment, so the Som-Taaw can do the research that they need to upgrade their ships or build better ships. So all together, the research modules would have 160,000 if you build all 4. The support modules have 25,000 health more, 25,000 health. And I don't exactly remember how much they had in vanilla, but I do know they die pretty easily, and they still die pretty easily in my mod as well. 25,000 sounds like a lot of health, but in my mod, that's like a very, very weak frigate-class ship. Like a very fragile frigate-class ship. And then the siege cannon, I've adjusted to 150,000 health, so it has quite a bit of health compared to its original counterpart. I think originally it only had like 75,000, which is still a lot compared to the Kushan, you know, having 130 altogether. So I still kind of kept that the way it was. And if you add all of those together, you will reach 1.2 million, which is what how much health the vanilla mothership had. It's just in this one, it's just broken up in a whole bunch of modules. Now for defense systems, as you can see, I've adjusted the amount of damage that the Kunlun systems do. They do 20 damage each now. I've also adjusted the attack speed because in vanilla, the attack speed of the Kushan. Why do I keep saying Kushan? The Kunlun projectiles were 0.25 for 32 damage. That meant per second, each one of those kinetic turrets did 128 DPS. Altogether, the Kushan mothership. Why do I keep saying Kushan? What the freak is wrong with me? The Som-Taaw command ship almost had as much DPS as a heavy cruiser, which is why the Som-Taaw command ship could single-handedly take down a group of frigates and destroyers just using its defense weapons because they shot so quickly. I've changed that. The defense system is now an actual PDS system. I've increased the attack speed of the bullets so they can lock on to quick-moving targets a lot faster, but it only shoots once every second. So overall, the Kushan... Why do I keep saying Kushan? Oh my god. The Som-Taaw command ship, I think it's because I keep thinking command ship and then my brain's saying Kushan. I don't know. But the Kushan... I'm just going to call it the command ship. The command ship can only do about 120 DPS, which is still pretty good. That's about as much as a frigate class ship if all the guns can actually hit the target, which for this guy it's kind of difficult to do since 3 of them are on one side and 3 of them are on the other. So, but still, that's a decent amount of DPS. And when you upgrade to energy projectiles, this will go up to 40 damage, but the attack speed will drop to 1.5. So it will only have a 50% damage increase, which will increase it to like 180 without being promoted. But that's like a decent frigate class ship. That's still a decent amount of DPS for the command ship. And I kept it. The reason why I brought it down is primarily because it's a point defense system. This isn't, as much as we want it to be, this isn't a warship. This is a mining vessel at heart, with upgrades that kind of make it more of a warship, like the siege cannon and energy cannon upgrades. But it shouldn't be doing a crap ton of DPS, and it shouldn't be taking down like destroyer class vessels or even heavy cruiser class vessels by itself. That's just no. That's not how I see the command ships, so this is why I designed them this way. Now, next up is the support units. So as you can see down here, I've adjusted the amount of support units that every ship in the fleet gives you. Starting off, you'll have 130 support units, which is an upgrade from vanilla, which was 70. This gives you a little bit more room to have a little bit larger of a fleet if you so desire, without actually upgrading your mothership. The hangar module now provides 70 support instead of 20. I always thought the hangar module should have been a lot more than what it previously did, because other than just getting the ability to build super capitals, there's no incentive to actually build your hangar module when you lose it. Now there is. It buffs up your SU by quite a bit, so you don't have to worry about building a bunch of support modules that will die quickly. You can actually build your hangar module, which has quite a bit of a defense and provide a lot more support for a larger fleet, and feel safe about it, I guess. Now the support modules, I've unified all support modules to be the same on the Kushan side. So each support module provides 20 support, and that also includes the carriers. In vanilla, it was 10 support for the command ship, 12 for the carriers. I just made all that universal just to make it easier to calculate. So with everything, with your hangar module and support modules built on the Kunlun, you will have about, I think, 540 support. I think that's how much it is. No, it's 440. because it'd be 240 for 12 support modules and 200 with the Kunlun all the way upgraded. And the carriers will provide, I believe, 175 when you build them, plus 20 per support module. So I believe that's 395 per carrier when all the way upgraded. So that would be like, I think 780 plus 440. So a little bit over 1,000. I think it's like 1,070 total support you'll have, which is much higher than I think the 434, I think is what you had in vanilla when everything upgraded. So yeah, that means you can build much larger fleets, and you can build a much larger fleets because there's a lot more support than in vanilla. And that's also, it's going to allow me to make the campaign a little bit more difficult, because since you can have a larger fleet on your disposal, that means I can make the enemy have a larger fleet at their disposal. So looking forward to getting to that point in the mod development, which is part of my favorite of just playing around with the AI and making them more powerful and different than vanilla. It's just, I don't know, it's a really fun thing to do. And so yeah, that's about everything when it comes to support and the actual Kunlun mothership. The economy is the next thing I want to talk about. Ready. So let's grab one of our workers, get him to do a little bit of harvesting, and we'll talk more about the adjustments of... actually, I could just go ahead and talk about the adjustments of the workers while we're actually doing all this. But first off, when it comes to harvesting, I've adjusted it to where you harvest 2 RUs per second. In my vanilla mod, it was 3 RUs per second. The reason why I dropped it is because if you look at the workers, it is a Corvette class ship compared to the resource collectors, which is a frigate class ship. And the fact they got a PDA system to work in a Corvette class ship is kind of mind-boggling and awesome. So because of that, its power has been reduced, because I'm sure they had to cut some corners in order to get this system to work in a Corvette class ship. Plus, the worker also has the ability to repair and the ability to salvage, and it needs all the equipment and stuff for those systems to work. And so because of that, the worker only has room for 250 RUs. So if you have 4 workers docking into a processor, it would give you 1,000 RUs, compared to vanilla, which you would have 650 for the resource collectors. Again, the reason why I dropped that is 1, this is a Corvette class vessel. 2, it's a very utilitarian, so it has a bunch of stuff in it, and so it has a little bit of everything, but not really a specialization. And 3, the resource collectors is literally just a giant cargo box with a PDA system built into it with an engine. That's all it is. So its capacity to hold RUs is much, much higher than the workers. But as you can see, it also takes quite some time to do your harvesting. So just like in my vanilla mod, you'll need multiple workers in order to get a good economy going. I've theorized it will take about 8 to 12 workers to have a good economy. Anything more than that will start giving you a booming economy. Alrighty, so I think next up, we're going to be talking more about the SU and RU costs of all of our ships. And in order to do that, I will need to load up the game with all the research and everything unlocked, make this a little bit easier on us. So I will be right back. Okay, all of the research is done. Let's hop into the build menu, and I will show you guys all the differences in pricing and whatnot in my mod. First off, as you can see on top, we start off with 10,000 resources if you play on with a large starting money. I've adjusted those to the way I have it in my vanilla mod, where if you do small, it's 2,500 resources. If you do medium, it's 5,000. If you do large, it's 10,000. I enjoyed those values a lot better, so I kept that from the vanilla, which is 1,000, 2,000, 4,000. Anyways, so as you can see, recons are 85 RUs. They are... everything in my mod is expensive. That's part of the whole hardcore thing, where when you build your ships, you want them to last a long time. It's especially important in Cataclysm, since there's a promotional system that makes your ships more powerful the longer they survive in combat. So yeah. So recons are 85 RUs. I believe they also require 3 support units, which is up from 2. I've made things a little bit more expensive when it comes to SU units, but also at the same time tried to balance them out so they feel more like that they are in vanilla and base it sort of off their RUs, but more off of the amount of crew and maintenance I think it would require to run these. Acolyte is 4. Acolyte takes 4 support units to now run as well. It's also 145 RUs, which is more expensive than interceptors. And again, because it's like an interceptor bomber hybrid. So they're a little bit on the expensive side. Mimics, I believe, require 5 RUs to produce. They also cost 210 RUs because of the holographic projector emitter and the fact you can strap a gigantic bomb on it and do a massive amount of kamikaze damage, which I have upped in my mod. So these guys are a little bit more deadlier than they are in vanilla. ACV requires 8. I've felt like adjusting that more, but ACV is just 2 AC our acolytes put together, so it's just like double the RUs, cost 290, double the SU unit requirement. That way they're balanced out and work the way they're supposed to. MCVs require 10 SU units. They also cost 420, which sounds like a lot, but for a Corvette class, that's kind of like mid for Corvette in my mod. Some ACVs are also like really cheap for a Corvette class. Like I think they're cheaper than light Corvettes because again, it's just 2 fighters strapped together. So that's kind of why they still count as heavy fighters instead of an actual Corvette class. But and also like very, very low armored compared to like Corvette class. I should actually build like a little bit of these so I can like show them off a little bit. Again, a lot of the stuff here aren't actually finalized. I haven't balanced out the fighters, corvettes, and frigates yet. Those will be coming up after we talk about the B side after these. But we can go ahead and get like some of these built, but we'll do that after we talk more about them. So ramming frigate. I forget how much the ramming frigate actually requires. It's 1,250 RUs to build, which in my mod, that's a little bit on the low side for frigate class ships, because frigates are anywhere between 1,000 and 2,000. Depending on how complicated they are and how powerful they are, they'll be closer to 2,000. How weak they are, they'll be closer to 1,000. But let me see if I can find the ramming frigate real quick. Ramming frigate costs 15 support units, so a little bit more than an MCV, but 15 is also still a little bit on the low side for frigate class ships. But then again, ramming frigates, all they do is ram into an enemy ship, move it out of combat, and do a little bit of damage with the ion. I have upped the ramming damage and the ion damage to compensate for my mods. So they should still work like they do in vanilla, essentially. And then next we have the multi-beam frigate, which I've kind of adjusted a little bit on my mod. I think they require 18 support units, but let me go ahead and check that out. Again, these ones haven't been like completely balanced yet, but I do have them kind of set to the way I want them to be. Let me see, where is multi-beam frigate? I forget where the M's are. That should be after mothership. There we are. Yes, it's 18 support units. So multi-beam frigates take 18 support units to construct. They're 1,450 RUs, which is kind of like smack dab in the middle of their expense when it comes to frigates. I have actually increased the amount of armor they have. I believe they have 70,000 armor, which is on the upper side for a frigate class ship. And part of that is because I kind of imagine them like as they're flying around, they would be the tank of our frigate group for the Kunlan, distracting the enemy so that the high frigates and ramming frigates can do more damage, or at least the ramming frigates can get in and do what they're supposed to do. But yeah, that's the high frigate, or the multi-beam frigate. Blah, 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 blah. Next is the high frigate, which is 1,700 RUs, which is a little bit on the expensive side. Makes sense. It's a very elegant design, so I'd assume that the resources for that would be very expensive to produce because they have to be very precise. It's got the swarmers built into it, so that's compensating for the amount of swarmers inside the high frigate. I have adjusted its weapon system, which I'll talk more about it when we actually get into the showing off those ships. It has a long-range weapon system instead of an energy projectile-based system. Again, I'll talk more about it because I think it actually really gives the hive frigates a really good vibe. And also the swarmers have been adjusted because I found out why the swarmers are so OP. Basically, each swarmer, I think, does 25 damage every quarter of a second. Or I think it's 20 damage every quarter of a second, which end up being 110 DPS per swarmer. He has 6 swarmers. That's 660 DPS just with swarmers. No wonder the hive frigates were so OP in the vanilla. I've adjusted that a lot, and again, I'll talk more about that when we actually start showcasing the hive frigates. But anyways, when it comes to support unit cost, I believe it is the most expensive. It is 24. So yeah, very expensive compared to multi-beam and ramming frigates. But still not like overly expensive. And next we have the Som-Taaw Destroyer, which requires 5,500 RUs, which sounds like a lot. I believe the destroyers in my vanilla mod were 4,700, so I made it just a little bit more expensive because it's more sophisticated and has more firepower and more multi-weapon use. And it's the Som-Taaw engineers. It's going to be the best of the best. They don't compromise on armor just to cut corners on cost. But the Som-Taaw Destroyer, let's see, how many support units do you require to build? 70. So they are quite expensive, which makes sense. They are a completely different class than the frigate class vessels. But yeah, they are very expensive. I may have to do some adjustments on that, but yeah, they require 70 support units to produce. Also, ignore this. I have a mod in for the dreadnoughts that allows me to build them super quickly, so I could get the I didn't have to wait like 3 hours to get the ships built for the previous video. So that's supposed to be 9,250, not 10. Dreadnoughts are extremely expensive. They're also, I think they're the most expensive super capital ship in my mods, which is really saying something. Let's see. I believe for support unit costs they're 110. I'm just going through my files real quick to verify that. They're set to 90. Oh, that's repair damage. But they're set to 0 because of my mod. That's so I can build 20 of them at once. It's 110. I do remember actually setting that up. In fact, I'm actually going to go ahead and change this in my desktop mod so that it's set to the way it's supposed to be. But yeah, they cost 110 support, and you have about 1,000 total support. So you can only have about 8, maybe 9 dreadnoughts, depending on how much depending on how many resource collectors or workers you have out, you could probably build 8 or 9 of these. But again, they are very powerful and very expensive, so they're definitely, yeah, the super capital ship crazy person of the group. And then next on the list is the carrier, which is 6,500 RUs. They provide 175 support to the fleet, and the extra modules they can build on the bottom each provide 20 additional, so that's 120, giving it 395 additional support. So that's 3 more dreadnoughts, if you want to count that as how the carriers actually work. Now, Leeches and Sentinels, I've actually adjusted this and put them in their own category, so they have very little health, which makes sense. They're a micro ship. I think the Leech literally has like 35 health, something like that. It's like very, very low. Let me go ahead and double check that real quick. Yeah, 35 health. Nope, that's build cost. 45 health. Still very, very low. Pretty much, if any energy cannon comes by them, even if it's the point defense systems on the like Kunlan and whatnot, they'll instantly get one shot. But they are extremely cheap to produce, so you could mass produce these, but a good point defense system will easily knock them out, so they won't be near as annoying as they were in vanilla. They can also only take like a very small amount of RUs when they try to like suck the RUs out of an enemy ship. I think it's like 25 is the maximum they can hold, and it takes like 25 seconds or something for them to actually finish it up. So yeah, leeches have definitely been nerfed, but they're very very interesting. I don't really use leeches that much. I literally only use it to advance the campaign. I don't really use them in multiplayer or anything, but they're adjusted just in case. And then next we have the Sentinel, which again, it's a micro ship, so I have adjusted them to be a lot weaker. Oh, and leeches only take one SU unit, and I think the Sentinel is the same way as well, which is one reason why I made fighters higher, so that they would be in a category for micro ships. Oh, Sentinels are 2, which is still lower than vanilla. Vanilla they were 3. So you can build like quite a bit of Sentinels and have like shields around your ships and whatnot, which is something I do want to play around with. But as soon as the shields fail, the Sentinels are going to die very quickly because they only have 65 health. Because they are, well, they're a Sentinel. They're a micro ship. So there isn't much to them. And then our Harvester is 850 RUs. This was up from 650. This was primarily due to, again, making everything more expensive, but they are cheaper than a resource collector, which is, or I should say, a resource collector was 1,000, which is super cheap for a frigate class ship, but a worker is a corvette class ship, which is 850 is super expensive for a corvette class ship. But they're still, like, again, cheaper than vanilla, but also the reason they're so expensive because they're so utilitarian. You can repair, salvage, and harvest all of the same unit, so you don't have to have like the multiple units like you did in Homeworld 1. And the processor is 2,250 RUs, quite expensive because again, the processor is technically a super capital ship class, so it has 140,000 health. Oh yeah, and the workers have 7 SU units. That's how much they cost. They're a little bit more expensive than vanilla. But again, it's just because of all the stuff they're able to do. Processors, I don't remember how much they are. Let's see, what are the processors? Boop, 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 boop. And Where are my P's? There you are. Processors cost 26 support units. So again, very, very little for a super capital ship class, but I think it's more expensive than the frigate classes. I may have to make that more expensive, but I haven't quite decided if I want to or not. I balanced that based off of how many support units are required on vanilla for the workers to try to keep that part balanced, but we'll see. We'll see what we want to do. And then now for the modules. Support modules are 800. They're a little bit more expensive than vanilla, but again, it's just a crew quarters equipment and whatnot, so it shouldn't be too much. Hangar module is 2,850 RUs. I made this very expensive because of the fact that it provides more support to the fleet. It's a heavily armored hangar bay that ships and whatnot can dock into. It's a very important piece of equipment on the Kunlan, so it's quite more expensive. Engineering module, I believe, is the cheapest of the research modules because it's the most basic one. The advanced engineering module is the most expensive because it's the most complicated one. Armor module is about in between, and weapon module is a little bit more expensive because, I would imagine that all the equipment you would use to research ion cannons and like make prototype ion cannons in the research module will be quite expensive. And the siege cannon I have made very expensive, because ultimately the siege cannon is a super weapon. It takes 25,000 RUs and a little over 30 minutes to construct. And I think it takes 12 minutes to charge before you can use it. But it's about 8 times more powerful, and I plan to probably increase that more. primarily because a lot ships have more health in my mod, so I need to adjust that more, so you can actually like devastate the beast if it actually goes through and hurts the enemy. So yeah, still doing a little bit of work on that, but yeah, they are extremely expensive, and I think it takes like 20 to 30 minutes to record it, or not record, but research the siege cannon technology in order to actually construct it. So you won't have to worry too much. If someone rushes siege cannon, I think it takes like 5 minutes to build the research or the weapons module, 25 minutes to research, 30 minutes to construct, and 12 minutes to charge. At minimum, you'll have an hour and 20 minutes as soon as the game starts to prepare for a siege cannon attack. So if you're not prepared by that time, you probably never will be. So that's part of the balancing out for the siege cannon. I'm going to make it really, really powerful, but take a really long time until you actually have access to use it. Okay, and then one last thing that we need to talk about for this episode is the repair times. I've adjusted all of the repair times for all the vessels on the Som-Taaw side. At first, they start off not being able to repair at all, which is standard to the vanilla experience. Unless you research repair bots, you can't actually repair anything, or the actual, forget what you call it, the repairability on resource collectors, which I kind of forgot to talk about too. That's been adjusted. Resource collectors or workers repair at 85 per second instead of, I think it was like 55 or something. I buffed it up a little bit. But in my vanilla mod, in vanilla Homeworld, I believe support frigates did 150, where repair corvettes did like 65. So they're kind of in between, in the middle. Since I would expect that technology would have improved by the time the whole Cataclysm thing happened. So yeah, let me see if I can grab my data real quick when it comes to the repair times of the repair bots. Boop, boop, boop. So essentially, assuming that the ship is at 0 health and repairing all the way to 100, the Som-Taaw will repair the Som-Taaw mothership would take 40 minutes for it to fully repair itself. The ship modules on the Som-Taaw will take 50 minutes, so they take a little bit longer. And I did that so that the Som-Taaw would prioritize healing the main ship and using its modules more as a sacrifice to keep the main ship alive. Super capitals take 45 minutes. The Dreadnought, which has 450,000 health, can like repair itself at like 160 per second, something like that. It's something really, really high because of how it's giant health pool, which makes sense. It makes sense based off of the ship's background. And frigate-class ships would take 60 minutes to go from 0 to 100. So, yeah. I basically tried to balance this out to where the ships won't repair themselves super quickly. You will still have to use like repair ships if you want to really get your ships healed, but instead the researching repair bots will help assist the ship to where it doesn't need to be repaired all the time, like it did in my vanilla mod. So I think that's a good compromise, because it will still allow you to use these ships in late game to really help keep your fleet alive, but it won't be required in order to keep your fleet alive anymore, like it would in the beginning of the game. So yeah, I think that's everything. I think that's everything when it comes to talking about all the economy and main Som-Taaw stuff that I've adjusted. Hope you guys like the adjustments, and I can't wait to actually get to this mod to the point where I can release it so people can test it out and tell me how they like it. That's going to be really amazing. Oh, and the Som-Taaw will never have in-combat regen. The reason why I decided on this is I would imagine that they would keep the repair bots docked into the ships until they need them, and they wouldn't risk sending them out in the middle of combat because they could easily be destroyed, and then now they don't have a repair bot system to keep their ship alive when they survive combat. So I would expect them to keep them all in the ship, and once the ship is safe and there's no more enemy threats, then they would launch the repair bots to repair themselves. So Som-Taaw, yeah, they will never have a in-combat regen in this mod. So, yeah. Anyways, I think that's going to do it. I hope you guys enjoy this. If you did, please leave a like. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. If you want to check out more of me, I have another channel in the video description called Captain Sobon's Other Games, where we play like RPGs and other weird, strange games that I might find and be like, huh, I think this would be a cool video. And that would be on that channel as well. And also, if you want to join me, I'm streaming this stuff over on Twitch. Just kind of decide like, hey, I'm usually not really doing anything. There's usually no one really distracting me, so I might as well just do this stuff on Twitch and then just edit it and upload it on YouTube. So yeah, if you guys want to join me, hop over on Twitch, and hopefully I'll be able to see you guys and hang out with you guys there. But anyways, until next time, this is Captain Sobon signing out.
The Faker have arrived. Emergency hyperspace procedures initiated.